The story of today's movie is not just an ordinary story. It's a tale of 1,000 truths, a story of a little child and a dog. The name of the movie is The Little Dog. One special aspect of this movie is that the director dedicated it to his own daughter. After watching the movie, you might shed tears, but more importantly, the movie might change your perspective in many ways. So let's delve into the story. At the beginning of the movie, we see a sunflower plant swaying in the fierce wind and rain outside. Meanwhile, a dog is giving birth to puppies there. On the other side, amidst the storm, we see a bus. Inside the bus, a woman is in labor, screaming in pain. Her husband is with her, surrounded by other passengers. The woman's husband shouts to the driver, asking how much longer it will take. The driver assures them that they will reach their destination very soon. In the midst of this, another woman steps forward inside the bus, saying, "I'm a nurse. I'm trying to help as much as I can." The nurse tells the woman's husband to call the hospital quickly. Meanwhile, the dog, exhausted after giving birth, lies down with her puppies. The rain hasn't stopped yet. On the other side, the operation has begun in the hospital where the woman was taken. After much effort from the doctors, a baby boy enters this world, crying. The mother lets out a sigh of relief. Essentially, just as a human mother gives birth on one side, on the other side, a dog also becomes a mother. The word mother, indeed, holds a lot of trust and reassurance for all animals, as well as for humans. Outside, the rain has stopped for a while, bringing a sense of calmness. The baby boy is named Jihan, and his arrival brings immense joy to his parents. A sense of happiness fills the entire family as they embrace the new life that has entered their world. On the other side, that sunflower plant has grown a bit bigger. Along with it, the dog has grown bigger as well. The mother dog stays with her puppies right there. On this side, Jihan's father showers immense love on Jihan. No matter how uncomfortable he feels himself, he always ensures his son is comfortable. He doesn't want to give even the slightest discomfort to his son. Days pass by like this. As they grow, so do the sunflower plants. The puppies have also grown much bigger now. They run around in all directions, exploring their surroundings. And the mother dog watches over them, ensuring their safety. Seeing the joy of the puppies, anyone's heart would feel uplifted. Meanwhile, Jihan is also growing up. Both his parents spend a lot of time with him. And thus, the story continues, of a human family and a dog family, moving forward together. One day, the mother dog ventures out in search of food for her puppies. She searches all around for food. At that moment, we see a laser aimed at the dog. A hidden figure, resembling a human, points a gun at the dog. Meanwhile, the mother dog finds a piece of bread. Overjoyed, she rushes back to her puppies to share the food with them. At that moment, we hear a gunshot, and along with it, we hear the heartbreaking cry of the mother dog. The piece of bread she found remains lying on the street. The inhumane individuals then capture the dog and take her away in a sack. Night passes, and morning arrives. The puppies are still waiting for their mother to return with food. Their mother hasn't come back yet. One of the puppies ventures a little outside to search for his mother. He scans all around but cannot find his mother. He returns to his siblings. Days turn into nights. The puppies are still waiting for their mother's return. The possibility of their mother coming back decreases with each passing day. So, one by one, the puppies start exploring in search of food, wandering in different directions. Only one puppy remains seated, still believing that his mother will return one day. As the night deepens, the puppy dog is still sitting there. The next morning, a loud noise startles the puppy dog from its sleep. The old buildings are being demolished by a construction company. The puppy dog looks around with bewildered eyes. Even the sunflower tree is being crushed and mixed with the soil. At one point, soon, the shelter where the puppy dog had been staying begins to collapse. The puppy dog is terrified. It runs for its life. And time passes by. This abandoned puppy dog is now named Hardy. Hardy finds himself in a park. There, he starts running behind a white dog. Both dogs are very happy. But suddenly, the owner of the white dog calls it, and the dog leaves. Hardy looks on silently. Then Hardy starts wandering around the park. Various people are playing with their dogs. Children are playing. But Hardy silently walks alone, because he has been alone since childhood. Neither has he found his mother, nor has any human given him shelter. The scene then shifts to Jihan's family. When Jihan's mother enters the room, she stands beside a closed cupboard and calls Jihan. She says, "Come out, sweetheart. Eat your food." But Jihan doesn't respond. Jihan's mother knocks on the door, and Jihan, with an agitated demeanor, comes out from inside. Jihan was crying a lot, and it was evident that he wasn't like any normal child. Jihan's father, in a drunken state, enters the room and sits in front of Jihan, crying along with him. Jihan's mother then pushes her husband away and asks him, "Have you gone mad? Are you out of your senses?" Jihan's father cries out, saying, "Yes, I have gone mad. I'm overwhelmed with this life. I can't bear it anymore." Jihan's mother remains silent, standing by. Jihan's dad keeps crying and saying, "Why did God do this to me?" Then Jihan's mom cries out, saying, "Enough! You knew since he was born that your child is autistic. Did you ever feed him or care for him? All you do is complain, without doing anything." Jihan's dad angrily responds, "Didn't I do anything for him when he was little? But what's the result? Has he ever called you mom? Has he ever called me dad?" Jihan's dad keeps asking Jihan to call him dad, and Jihan looks scared. Jihan's mom then took her husband away. She told him, "Even if he doesn't call me mom, he's still my son?" Jihan's dad replied, "Yeah, he's only your son." But he asked her one last time, "Will you have another baby?" Jihan's mom stayed quiet. Jihan's dad got it and walked away from there. And the mother, calming down, holds Jihan close and sits there with him. Meanwhile, Hardy was walking through the city streets to a place where some dog food was available. Hardy was also sitting beside them. A kind lady offers them some food. Meanwhile, her boyfriend arrives there and tries to shoo away the dogs, but the woman stops him. On the other hand, Jihan's mother takes him to a special school for children with disabilities. Here, Jihan was being introduced to new things. After school, Jihan's mother takes him to a park. Sitting on a bench in the park, Jihan's mother gives him a piece of bread to eat. Jihan takes a bite of the bread and then, when his mother tries to give him water, he drops the bread and continues to behave erratically, almost like a madman, and tries to hit his mother. Seeing this, the people around gather and become agitated. Among the crowd, a boy keeps recording a video. Seeing this, Jihan's mother gets even more upset and asks, "Are you all enjoying this spectacle? Why are you recording the video?" The boy says, "To upload it on Facebook." At that moment, Jihan's mother says, "Do you all think my son is autistic? No, you all are autistic. All of you, leave from here." Everyone disperses from there. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Jihan's mother holds her son's hand and leaves from there. The bread still lies there. Meanwhile, we see Hardy. He has been walking through the city and has come to that park. There, he finds and eats the discarded bread. The scene changes, and Jihan is sitting amidst that mess. He has a toy, towards which he always gets lost in a colorful world. Suddenly, Jihan's mother calls out to him. Once again, he returns to the real world. Jihan's mother tells him, "I'm going out for a while. Don't leave the house, son." Saying this, Jihan's mother leaves from there. Jihan sits quietly beside their window. Suddenly, his eyes catch sight of a plastic bottle lying below. Jihan descends from the house. However, a cleaner takes the bottle from there. Jihan follows him. Gradually, following him, he reaches the main road. And suddenly, at the loud honk of a passing car, he goes completely mad. He couldn't tolerate the noise at all. Holding his ears, he runs through the main road of the city. He was running and screaming. He was seeing the people around him as different animals and birds in the world of imagination where he always stays. At one point, Jihan becomes exhausted, and those unbearable sounds merge with the light. Evening has fallen. Jihan walks alone through the city streets, not knowing where he is going. Eventually, Jihan comes to a broken, dilapidated house and stands in front of it. The door was also broken. Jihan cautiously enters the house and leans against the wall, sitting on the floor. Then Hardy, the dog, comes there. Jihan screams loudly seeing Hardy. Hardy also screams then. It was essentially Hardy's territory. At one point, both Jihan and Hardy become calm. The scene changes, and Jihan's mother becomes very worried. She asks Jihan's father to call the police. Jihan's father gets angry. He says, "The people in the neighborhood still don't know that our child is autistic. By calling them, do you want everyone to know? We are trying to figure it out ourselves." Jihan's mother remains silent. The next morning, the sound of the temple bell echoes around, and there's an abandoned lighthouse in the distance. Jihan slowly wakes up from his sleep. Rubbing his eyes, he steps outside. He had been in this lighthouse all night. The place was a bit secluded and lonely, away from the city. Jihan walks alone through the city streets, not knowing where he's going. Eventually, he comes to a dustbin in the city. He stands there for a moment. The place is quite deserted and solitary. Jihan sees a water bottle lying there, with very little water left in it. He drinks it. Then, when he is about to open the lid of the dustbin, Hardy suddenly appears from behind the bushes. Jihan does not open the lid. He goes away from there. As he continues walking along the city streets, we also see Hardy following him. Jihan can understand Hardy's matter. He's having fun with Hardy, playfully walking with his legs moving forward and backward. In the next scene, Jihan is seen near that same lighthouse, with Hardy following closely behind him. But before entering through the door, Hardy suddenly runs ahead and rushes inside the house. Once inside, he lies down. Essentially, he's claiming his own space. Jihan doesn't enter the house. He stands outside quietly. His mind seems troubled, and he remains outside the door, silently sitting. Hardy glances at him. Perhaps the clever dog has understood something, so he leaves his spot and moves towards the door, giving Jihan the opportunity to enter. Jihan enters slowly and quietly. He keeps looking back at Hardy repeatedly. Jihan finds a corner against that wall and quietly sits down, leaning against it. He looks towards Hardy, who is also looking towards him. At one point, when Jihan falls asleep, in the child's dream of hunger, he cries out to his mother. While the dog may not understand human language, it certainly understands the language of hunger. Hardy runs from there. Meanwhile, Jihan's parents arrive at the park, searching for him. They are searching for Jihan in all directions, but they cannot find him anywhere. Exhausted from the search, they both become tired. In the next scene, Jihan's mother says, "Now we need to inform the police." Jihan's father gets frustrated again. Jihan's father says, "Maybe this is what the creator wants, so that we cannot find him. Let's start a new life." Hearing these words from her husband, Jihan's mother becomes very upset. She continues to cry, while Jihan's father consoles her. He says, "Come, let's go and search for him together." Meanwhile, Hardy arrives at the park, standing in front of a fast food stall. The shopkeeper recognizes Hardy because he occasionally lets Hardy have a little food. Hardy wants to impress the man by playing. The man tells Hardy, "Your tricks won't work on me today." But Hardy doesn't give up. He continues trying to impress the man. The man eventually understands and gives Hardy a chicken sausage. Before giving it to him, the man says, "This is the last one." As soon as Hardy gets the food, he runs off with it, running through the city streets with all his might. At one point, he reaches the lighthouse. Jihan is enjoying the chicken sausage. Hardy sits in front of him, looking towards Jihan's face. As the day turns into night, Jihan and Hardy remain where they were. Hardy sits inside the house this time, lying down beside Jihan. However, Jihan is still afraid of Hardy. He separates them with a paper wall. The next morning, Jihan is seen holding onto Hardy in his sleep. When Jihan's sleep breaks, he pushes Hardy away. Hardy feels hurt, but still sits in front of him. Jihan gradually extends his hand towards Hardy, strengthening their friendship. From here begins a friendship between a human child and a dog. They both come back to the city, searching for food in the bins. Then they roam around the entire park, having a lot of fun. Jihan is laughing openly for the first time, and that too with a stray animal. Hardy even steals food for Jihan, and together they share and eat it. Hardy helps fulfill all of Jihan's desires. It's as if Jihan can now express the desires hidden inside him for years. Jihan now finds this once harsh world incredibly beautiful. He enjoys every moment. One day, in front of that shop where food is given to street dogs, a new dog arrives. There, a man was walking by when the new dog attacked him. The man screams loudly. Amidst this, Hardy arrived at the scene, searching for food. Hardy tried to intervene and stop the new dog's attack. Then another passerby, another man, hits the new dog with a stick. But Hardy gets hit instead. Hardy yelps in pain and then leaves from there. The shop owners come out of the shop. Everyone joins in beating the stray dog, but Hardy stands a little apart. He had come with high hopes, but today luck is not on his side. He returns home hungry, with no food in his fate for the day. The girl's boyfriend often scolded her because she fed street dogs daily, which he didn't like. And for today's incident, he blamed her. The girl argued, "You can't judge all dogs by the actions of one. If we don't feed them, where will they find food?" The injured man was taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Jihan was playing inside the small house. Hardy arrived with empty hands and stood in front of the house. Looking at his condition, it was clear he couldn't bring any food for Jihan today. Hardy silently sat by the riverbank. Jihan followed and sat beside him. Both of them gazed towards the setting sun. In the next scene, security personnel were seen catching the street dogs and putting them in cages. The reason behind all this is for the safety of ordinary people. Meanwhile, Hardy and Jihan were walking through the city streets. Jihan was walking ahead, and Hardy was following behind. At that moment, the security personnel noticed Hardy. They said, "We need to catch this dog." They got out of the car and approached Hardy. Seeing the security personnel, Hardy started barking, and they were advancing to catch him. Jihan also got angry seeing this. Although Jihan couldn't speak, his expression showed his frustration. Hardy started running, and the security personnel chased after him. Hardy was a lively and clever dog, but the security personnel was determined not to let him escape. He was chasing Hardy closely. At one point, Hardy slipped into a warehouse through a gap. The security personnel searched around frantically. Unable to find him, he was about to leave, but then he heard a sound. The security personnel moved slowly towards the sound and saw Hardy's tail. As soon as he tried to catch him, Hardy started running again, with the security personnel chasing him. Then Hardy was cornered, and the dog had nowhere to go, yet he refused to give up. The security personnel also kept urging Hardy on and wouldn't let him go. Finally, a net was brought for Hardy, and he was captured. They were taking Hardy away when some people protested. They asked, "What will you do with this dog?" The man replied, "We'll just kill him." Upon hearing this, the crowd argued that it was unfair and that they couldn't take the dog away from there. There was a heated argument between them. Then two security personnel said, "They're harmful to you. They're just street dogs. They don't have an owner. But if anyone wants to take this dog, they can take him." But nobody agreed. Just then, we saw Jihan from behind. You know Jihan can't express his feelings. He keeps expressing his anger and sorrows like this. Hardy's cage was loaded onto the car. Hardy found Jihan, who was looking at him with pity. And the little boy Jihan was expressing his anger and frustration in this way. The car keeps moving, and suddenly Jihan walks in front of the car. The car brakes hard, and the safety worker there rushes to protect Jihan and scolds him. However, Jihan doesn't respond to any questions. He just keeps his head down. Meanwhile, Hardy continues to whimper as he looks at Jihan. The safety worker then turns towards Hardy. He asks Jihan if this dog is his. Jihan mumbles something incomprehensible, which the safety worker doesn't understand. However, sensing something, the safety worker takes Hardy's collar and opens the gate of the cage. This moment was very joyful. Hardy runs and jumps onto Jihan's lap. Jihan was showing affection towards Hardy, which brings a gentle smile to the safety worker's face. Tears fill the eyes of the safety worker sitting in the car as well. Seeing the love between the child and the dog, the safety worker says that this dog has found a good shelter. They hope to find safe shelters for the other dogs as well. The scene changes, and even in the night, Hardy and Jihan have a lot of fun. At one point, Jihan falls asleep outside and feels a bit cold. Hardy places a piece of cloth on Jihan's chest and lies on top of it, ensuring that Jihan stays warm. On the other hand, we see Jihan's parents. If Jihan's mother complains to the police, Jihan's father will divorce her. Jihan's mother, crying, asks, "Are you even human? Is that your biological son? How can you treat him like this?" Jihan's father replies, I can't bear this trouble all my life. If he stays, you divorce me. Jihan's mother says, if you want, I can find him and set you free. I'll take my son and leave your life. On the other side, Hardy has stolen a new teddy bear for Jihan. He places the teddy bear near Jihan's feet. Jihan is very happy to receive the new toy. He plays with Hardy happily. Every evening, Hardy and Jihan take a walk by the river. Today, they end up at the park where a dance festival is happening. Hardy and Jihan watch from afar with interest. Suddenly, Jihan gets lost in his imaginary world and starts dancing among the crowd. Everyone claps and cheers, and someone records a video on their phone. Meanwhile, Jihan's mother sits in darkness, feeling upset. Then she receives a notification on her phone. She opens it and sees a picture of Jihan with Hardy. It's a picture taken in the park that evening. Without wasting time, she rushes to the park. They come to the shopkeeper in the park and show him that picture and ask if he has seen that boy. The man looks at the picture and says he has never seen him. Jihan's mother becomes disappointed. Suddenly, the man says again, looking carefully at the picture, and tells her that he recognizes the dog next to the boy. Jihan's mother asks where the dog's owner lives. The man says it's a street dog. Then Jihan's mother asks where the dog can be found. The man laughs a little and says a street dog can be found on the street. Jihan's mother becomes even more disappointed. Then the man stops Jihan's mother again and says that one day he was walking to the end of the park. There is a lighthouse there, and he saw the dog there. Jihan's mother and father rush to the lighthouse without delay. Jihan's mother gets out of the car and runs towards the lighthouse, running towards it, and at one point, she stops. Jihan's mother sees her son after so many days. He was playing quietly inside. She quietly approaches him from behind and holds him tightly. But Jihan doesn't have any particular feelings. But when his mother wants to take him outside, he becomes very reluctant and cries a lot. He refuses to leave this place. Jihan's father then angrily enters and forcibly picks him up and holds the teddy bear in his hand, hitting it on the ground, telling him not to play with such dirty things. Jihan is taken away forcefully from there. Furthermore, we see Hardy has brought a new bottle for Jihan, but when he enters the house, he doesn't find Jihan anymore. Hardy searches all around, but there's no sign of Jihan. As they roam around the city, Hardy's heart sinks. The affection Hardy had for Jihan was not less than that of his own father's for his son. With a heavy heart, Hardy wanders around the entire city looking for Jihan. On the other hand, Jihan is not feeling well, looking towards the window. Meanwhile, Hardy reminisces about the beautiful times spent with Jihan. As he walks, Hardy comes in front of a restaurant. A man comes out of the restaurant, carrying a food plate in his hand, and he also spots Hardy. The man keeps the food aside and leaves. As soon as the man leaves, Hardy quickly goes to eat the food. Just as Hardy starts eating, we notice that a metal collar is being put around Hardy's neck very quickly. In a moment, Hardy is captured. This man was actually a human-like animal. He used to catch street dogs and sell their meat. He had some more people helping him in this work secretly. Hardy was quietly standing. He was smarter than 5 dogs combined. That night, when the bell rang, Hardy opened the door of his cage. However, when he sees that man, he again enters the cage and pretends to sleep. When the man leaves, Hardy himself comes out and releases all the captive dogs left there, saving many innocent lives. On this side, Jihan's parents are shown. They have come to Jihan's school. They are talking to the principal. The principal tries hard to make them understand. He says that their language of speaking is different, and so is the language of their hearts. We must understand their language first to communicate with them in their language. Hearing this, Jihan's father becomes very angry. He says, "Do you understand my pain, which will haunt me all my life?" Then the principal gives a forced smile, and then a woman takes the principal's daughter into the room and says, "Sir, she is looking for you. It seems she is hungry." And we can understand that the principal's daughter is actually an autistic child. She is much older than Jihan. The principal speaks to his daughter in her language. Seeing this, Jihan's father's eyes widen suddenly. He feels a lot of embarrassment because for so long he has not listened to the principal. They start to return home together. Everyone in the car is silent. Jihan was looking towards the sky through the window. On this side, we see the boyfriend of the girl who feeds the dogs. He was riding a motorcycle while looking at his phone. Suddenly, Hardy notices something. He sees that the road ahead is closed, and there is no attention paid by the boy either. Hardy starts barking a lot, but there is no benefit. The boy has an accident there and falls into the manhole. Hardy immediately rushed to the scene. He barked a lot, but the boy lost consciousness. Hardy continues to bark around looking for help. He sees a man and runs towards him. The man is scared when Hardy barks at him. In the meantime, Hardy tries to call him in his language, but the man gets scared. As Hardy continues to bark, the man tries to hit Hardy with a stick. Not finding any other way, Hardy takes the key of the bike and runs down the city streets in desperation. Finally, he reaches in front of that shop. Hardy leaves the key there and continues to call the girl in his language. The girl comes out and can recognize the key. Then she looks towards Hardy and Hardy gestures towards her to run. The girl also runs after him. Finally, she finds her boyfriend. Hardy was standing there from a distance watching. At that time, Jihan's car was also passing through that road. Suddenly, Jihan sees Hardy. Seeing Hardy, his eyes widen. He starts his crazy antics again, and his mother tries to stop him. And then, the word mother emerges from Jihan's mouth. After hearing this, Jihan's father presses the brake and Jihan's mother seems to have lost faith in her ears. She repeatedly tells Jihan to say the word twice, but Jihan doesn't respond. Then Jihan's mother looks towards her husband. "You've heard," Jihan's mother says, holding her son tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Hardy, the innocent dog, is still waiting for Jihan. On the other side, Jihan was sketching something in his drawing book. When Jihan falls asleep, his mother tidies up everything. She's about to leave when her eyes go to Jihan's drawing book. She sees something there. Jihan's mother sits down and starts connecting the dots. And when she starts connecting those dots, she sees it's a figure of a dog. Jihan's mother is very surprised. The next morning, they all go to the lighthouse. Jihan's mother stands in front of the door and sees that there is indeed no dog inside the lighthouse. Jihan's father asks her, "Are you sure Jihan misses that dog?" Jihan's mother replies, "Yes," and Jihan expresses his anger in his own way. Unable to find Hardy, they were returning home when suddenly Jihan's father says, "Let's take Jihan to a park. Jihan's time will be well spent." Actually, Jihan's father has started to change himself. His father has started to show affection towards his child. Jihan's mother tells Jihan's father, "Bring us some food." Jihan's father gets up, and as he walks around the park, Hardy was also walking. Jihan's father buys a chicken lollipop from that shop and brings it, handing it to Jihan. Jihan's mother tries to feed him the lollipop. At that moment, amidst the cries of some people nearby, Jihan starts his madness again. He's crying loudly, and people around are looking at him. Jihan's father tries his best to stop his son. But Jihan is not stopping in any way. A little girl, holding a chocolate, approaches Jihan. When her mother stops her and takes her away, both of Jihan's parents feel very embarrassed. Jihan's father takes Jihan in his arms and leaves from there. On the other hand, we find Hardy. We know that a dog's sense of smell is very strong. It can understand if Jihan is nearby. Following Jihan's scent, Hardy had walked quite a way. However, by then, Jihan's car had already left, and Hardy couldn't find Jihan. In the next scene, we see Jihan's mother waiting outside the school after sending her son to school. At that moment, a teacher comes and gives Jihan's mother a bottle of water. Jihan's mother asks the teacher if everyone knows that the principal's daughter has autism. The teacher replies that everyone knows, and the principal feels proud to introduce his daughter. Jihan's mother remarks how beautiful his life is. Then the teacher adds, the situation was not so beautiful at first when his daughter was diagnosed with autism. At one point, his wife left the child and went away. Although the father always took care of the daughter, he also couldn't handle it at times. So one day, after feeding her daughter, he opens the window, turns on the gas from the stove, and quietly lies down there, slowly suffocating himself as the room's oxygen depletes. The daughter clips her hair and goes near the stove, turning off the gas. From that moment on, the principal starts changing his life. When Jihan's mother opens the bottle of water and takes a sip, she remembers something. The last day she went to that lighthouse, she saw everything cleaned up, but those were the things that Jihan's father had ruined. Jihan's mother understood that she would find Hardy there as soon as they went to the lighthouse. The three of them are still heading towards that lighthouse. Hardy was walking by the side of the road when suddenly his eyes catch sight of the car's window, and upon finding Jihan, he starts running like crazy, following the car. But he couldn't catch up with the car in any way. At one point, Jihan's gaze fell on the rearview mirror, where he spotted Hardy. He began to behave like before, repeatedly calling out, "Mama." This time, Jihan's mother could also sense something and turned slightly to look at Hardy. They both stopped the car immediately, and Jihan quickly got out of the car. But just then, the traffic signal on the opposite side turned red. Hardy noticed the signal, but Jihan no longer understood such things. He kept running towards Hardy. Suddenly, a motorcycle came and lost balance, hitting a large stand by the side of the road. It almost fell on Jihan. Seeing this, Hardy rushed forward, pushing Jihan aside. And then, we heard a scream from Hardy. Everything froze for a moment. Jihan was crying, and we could sense that he was gone. Then, a scene from many years ago was shown, when Jihan's parents had a dog named Cuckoo. They loved Cuckoo very much. Cuckoo was also very devoted. This dog was the same one we saw at the beginning of the movie, which was Hardy's mother. When Jihan's mother became pregnant, Jihan's father was very happy. At that time, Jihan's father told Jihan's mother that no livestock should be kept in the house during this time. "We will send our dog somewhere else." So, they sent Hardy's mother to their village house, a little away from there. And that house had been demolished by a construction company, where Hardy's mother spent the last moments of her life. Today, Hardy, like his mother, has finally fulfilled his own responsibility and returned to his mother's lap. Although people may not remember the kindness of others, these innocent animals express gratitude even by giving their lives. And at the end of the movie, the director of the movie is shown. This movie is dedicated to his daughter, because his own daughter is also an autistic child. The children who were with Jihan at school were truly autistic children. Ultimately, I want to say one thing. We are the best creations of creation. Sometimes it feels like we are truly not able to protect our dignity. And with that, the movie concludes. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe and follow our channels for further updates. Thank you and goodbye. We'll see you in the next tale.